Welcome to the Backwoods Life podcast with Michael Lee. With over 20 plus years in the outdoor industry, I've got some of the craziest stories to tell, and you never know what's going to come next. Thank y'all for listening. Let's get right to it.
Mother Nature will. It's the thrills, the skills, the rush, it's the dust and grind. Living the backwoods life.
Hey everybody, welcome to Backwoods Life podcast. I'm Michael, and episode number, I'm guessing right, 120. So time flies when you're having fun and you got cool people to talk to. So that makes the day go by better and the podcast go a lot smoother. I'm joined today by my good buddy Kerry from Wildife Farming. What's up, man?
How you doing?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Pretty good, living the dream and ready to get fall going.
Yeah, I heard that, man. We got to get through this. Well, and we'll get a listen in just a second. Kerry came down and visited with us a few weeks ago and brought us some equipment and ran some equipment. And we had a good time hanging out. And he loves South Georgia heat and gnats. That's two of his favorite things in life. So
don't forget the snakes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, you did. We only saw one little
right
snake there. We didn't get to see any fun snakes while you were here. So
yeah,
I waited till you left at least to see that one.
Yeah, and then you sent it to me.
I just want to make sure you knew they were here. That's all.
Right.
And we talked about hunting this fall, and Kerry, as soon as I sent that snake picture, he was like, "Yep, not coming till after the frost, guys. Have fun. See y'all then."
Yeah, we have snakes, but your stuff seems to just be a little bit bigger down there. Maybe it's the longer growing season. I don't know.
Well, they say everything's bigger in Texas, and I will say Texas snakes are the Western Diamondbacks are bigger than the Eastern Diamondbacks, but I don't care. A rattlesnake is a rattlesnake, no matter how big it is. They all will do bad things. So we try to avoid them at all costs. But yeah, he came down and visited with us, brought us some fun new stuff that, we haven't torn anything up yet, but just give us time. Me and Rick are going over there this weekend together. So pray a lot for that. But yeah, we brought down, the same drill that we've been using, but, we got the new toy that has actually gotten a ton of exposure on social media with the Limb Shark.
Yeah, you guys have been wanting one of them for a long time, and the only problem with that was they were selling so good that we just didn't have any available that we could send out to demo, and now we've kind of got ourselves where we've got stock of them, so it made the perfect time to get one down there for you guys. And my gosh, you need it bad,
dude. These pine trees and oak trees that we have down here on our roads, it's like you can cut them back every year, and it seems like, well, okay, we got all the limbs off of that side of the tree, and they're just brutal. That's the best way to put it. But that thing is slick. For those of y'all, hop on our social media if you're listening to this right now and just look at some of our past few videos. The Limb Shark, the one we have, Kerry brought down, it goes on the forks on the front of the tractor. It's got its own engine on the Limb Shark. It's got four saw blades on that thing.
4 12-inch blades.
Yeah. So, and you crank up the thing, let it idle for a second, get warmed up, crank that throttle up, engage the blades when you get ready to start cutting limbs, and just go very slow, correct?
Very slow. Yeah. And honestly, that was the first time I'd run a gas. I've always run the hydraulic version, which I just had told myself that it was way better. And after running that gas version down there, I'm kind of liking it. I get why it's so convenient, because you don't have to have a skid loader, and you can put it on anything you have, whether it's a skid loader, whether it's a tractor, big tractor, small tractor. You don't need the convenience of the hydraulics because you can use anything.
Exactly. And for the sake of this being a podcast, and obviously people can't see other than us talking on this thing.
Right.
The Limb Shark is designed for cutting limbs off of your trees, basically. So you can go slowly down your woods roads or down the edge of your food plots, and you can trim those limbs that stick out. And one thing that we did immediately on a couple of our narrower food plots by cutting those limbs that stick out and hang over. Yeah, we eliminate a lot of scraping trees, but trust me, they'll find more. But we also probably added another 5 yards roughly to the width of the food plot by taking out some of those, limbs that just, what I call them is tractor knockers, because you ride by on your tractor and they just beat you to death and you can't really do anything under those limbs. So
right. I question how many deer can sneak through there, because some of them limbs were wide enough at a distance that you literally, if a deer was behind it, you wouldn't be able to see it.
Yeah.
And how many sneak past that you guys don't even see. I mean, after we were done with that, I was like, wow, You guys got something to hunt now.
Well, exactly, and that's the thing. Which one, just road maintenance in general, and depending on where you're at in the country and your terrain, especially like where we're at, we have a lot of thick cover, and we have some really tight spots to get in and out. Yeah, if you're driving through a big giant hardwood bottom, you probably don't have a ton of limbs in your way. But for us that have, especially pine trees, they have limbs up and down from top to bottom, and the more you let them grow, the more they're going to have limbs on there. So that tool was it's a night and day difference when after using that limb shark on our roads over there.
Yeah. You'll never get caught up though. You guys have a lot more to do.
Yeah, I know that's the bad part. I need to get about 700 gallons of gas and, probably, I don't know, 6 tractors and 6 of those things. We might get caught up then.
Right.
But that was just one of the cool toys. But I will say, man, that when we posted that on Instagram and Facebook stories the night that you were over there and we ran that thing. The first day, it got almost 15 or 20,000 views on Facebook stories, and my phone started blowing up. People going, "What is that? And where can I get one?" And so now I'm texting you like, "Hey, man, how much do these things cost?" And blah blah blah. So, people definitely saw that thing, and I think just on Facebook, the video that we posted the next day, I don't know, it got 100, 200,000 views on that thing. Just, equipment videos do pretty well on social media, but when you got one that people go, okay, that has my attention. What is it? And I need one. And it's crazy at the.
Well, it replaces the pole saw, and any piece of equipment that's going to make your life easier needs to be looked at a little closer.
And the only requirements you do have to have for the limb shark is you have to have a tractor with forks, or you have to have a skid steer. One of those two, and you can run this thing. And in the big scheme of things, price wise, they're about 6,000 or 7,000.
6,100. Yep.
Yeah, so not that bad when you consider what it is, what it does, and how it's going to make your life so much easier after you get through trimming those roads with that thing.
The trees grow every year.
100%. They never stop until they die.
Right.
So we did that and brought down one of I say a new drill. It's not new in the totality of things, but it was new one to us. But that one, which series was that one?
You got the M5.
The M5. Okay, I couldn't remember.
PH M5.
And that one is, I call it just wide enough for us. It's one of those that it's the exact same width as that Kubota tractor that we have over there. So I don't know. What's the exact inches on that one?
That's 60-inch working width.
All right, that's your.
So you'll be able to plant 60 inches wide. Now the machine's a little wider than that, but 60-inch planting width.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. But I didn't know the exact width with the extras that stick out to the side a little bit. But and we only did one plot with that thing while you were there, and Kevin brought a bag of peanuts, and we'd never planted peanuts before, so we all had a learning curve at one time with this thing. And I'm going back over this week to see how they ended up. The bad news that I have for those peanuts is we have had hogs on camera since then. So
really,
that's probably not going to be pleasant when I get back over.
Being from the Midwest, I've never seen peanuts before. I mean, I've seen them in the bag at the store, but as far as like seeing them to plant, I'd never seen them. I was pretty shocked at how big they were. And I was pretty happy that the drill was actually able to plant it. We did have a few malfunctions. We did break some seeds, but at the end of the day, the majority of them planted.
Well, in the big scheme of things, a peanut seed is not hard to break anyway. In the defense, so I'm not blaming any of that on the machine itself. It was those peanuts they're very easy to be split. When and for those of us in the South that are familiar with peanuts, they have a whole side business of selling peanut splits, and that's exactly what they're called. When those bust, when they're harvesting them and doing the whole process to make seed, doing everything. When they have splits, they just toss them over to the side, and they're a great feed. And then they're used in a bunch of different products other than just the whole peanut itself. So
are they like a soybean? Like once it breaks, it's useless. You can't plant it; it won't grow.
Yep.
Okay,
that's exactly right. And again, so when we were over there, Kevin actually brought a bag of splits, and we forgot to put it in one of our deer troughs over there. So there's 2 different types of. What we used was actually peanut seed, so they have an inoculant on them, to help with the germination process. But when the ones that they harvest, they cull out as splits, they don't obviously coat them like that, so they're great for feed. I put those in the trough here behind my house. They lasted about 2 days.
No kidding.
Yeah, that bag was probably, man, that was probably between a 70 and 100 pound bag, and they smoked them. Like, it's deer love peanuts down here.
I bet they wouldn't touch them in the Midwest till they knew what they were.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think once they figured it out, though, you would have
look out.
A problem. And of course, it's loaded with fat and protein, and the good kinds of fat and protein. So,
right.
My dad if he could get, he wouldn't feed anything else if he could get peanuts all the time. That's all he would feed, 100% in there. And when we plant peanuts on down here, most of the farms that have peanuts will have, especially this time of year, bachelor group of bucks, you will have every buck in the area on peanuts. They love them. It's just the plant itself is high in protein too. So, I can't even describe when they plant peanuts on our farm, because we rent out the farming rights. It's like, it's going to be a good deer season. You're going to have everybody's deer.
Right.
But speaking of that, shifting gears a little bit, this time of the year, I had Robbie from Antler King a few weeks ago on here, and one thing that we did say this time of the year, this is a bad time of the year to be doing any mowing right now.
Yes.
So deer and turkeys both wise, right? Yeah. Have you guys seen fawns already up there and stuff?
I'm a little upset. I have not seen any fawns, and I have I think my doe age structure is very old. Mm-hmm. I've got deer with some characteristics that you cannot forget. This one deer I call her Floppy. She's got an ear that hangs. It's hung for, I know she's pushing 7-8 years old. Mm-hmm. I had a picture of her the other day in my backfield, and there was no fawn with her, and she didn't look fat. Mm-hmm. That's not saying that she could have had one and he's not with her, or she's not with her. Right. But I've had several pictures of her since. I have nothing trailing. So I am a little concerned that I have yet to see a fawn or a turkey poult.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything yet.
Well, and that's one thing that's been crazy here is I saw poults for a while, and now I'm not seeing them anymore. But again, take everything with a grain of salt, because we're looking at like ours. We saw one physical hen with poults with our own eyes. Everything else we're relying on trail cameras. Mm-hmm. And your trail cameras will lie to you. As most people don't believe that. Trail cameras will lie to you all day long. They're great tools to have, but they're not going to tell you part of the story.
Right.
I'm a firm believer, especially from what I've seen, because especially here at my house, I watch deer every afternoon, back here behind my house, mostly just a bunch of does. But I can see how the fawning happens when those deer, they change their behaviors crazy during that process. So you see these does, they're all grouped up, they're all big and fat, like we're talking about. They got babies in them, and then they'll disappear for a couple of days, mm-hmm. or maybe even more, and they're just MIA. Like, you're like, where did the deer go? Well, they're dropping those fawns then.
Right.
And then what I've noticed is, at least on our deer, is it takes weeks to months before they'll ever introduce that fawn into the herd. Have you seen anything like that?
Yeah. And, listening to you talk here, it kind of some things stood out to me here with what you were just saying. I've noticed that I've been seeing deer in my food plots in the middle of the day, and it's warm here in the Midwest now, but typically we don't see deer just roaming around in the middle of the day. And I'm almost wondering if that isn't a doe that's given birth, that's out there trying to get something to eat while the little one's laying off in the weeds somewhere. And maybe you're right. Maybe we're not seeing everything that's out there.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that, because I will notice, like I said, I see back here all the time on my little bit of woods I have, but I see you'll go out there all the hours during the day after they've dropped those fawns, and those does will be coming in and feeding in and out, just popping in and out. Mm-hmm. And they show up on the cameras like that sometimes, but usually our cameras are on more like feeders and stuff this time of year, because we're just watching antler growth. We're just wondering how much the bugs are eating, and the fawns are the part of that you get to see. But I think those does, they're up and down all the time, just browsing. They're hitting fields and food plots. Like down here, just talking about peanuts, in the summer here, it could be 95 to 100 degrees middle of the day, and they'll be deer in peanut fields eating. And again, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's those does that have dropped fawns, and they're feeding. they got to keep their nutrients up and their bodies going because they probably got two laying over there if we're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know, unlucky if you do looking at the the population and the feed bill. But yeah, it's that time of year. But what we're saying, mowing is not something that unless you're just going down, a woods road or something like that. But I wouldn't go mow your food plots right now. I'm a
No.
big fan, especially if you've got a stand of, like say you planted a mix that's got some rye, wheat, oats, maybe some sorghum or some different grains in there like that. I'm a big fan of just letting that stuff go until it's brown and dead, heads out, seeds on it, because there's a lot of food out there that you don't realize, especially for turkeys and baby turkeys, and they can hide really good in there. And fawns the same way. You just got them something to lay down and hide in, right?
Right. Well, the other thing too is everything's happening right now. You got people that want to clean up their properties, mow.
Mm-hmm.
You got farmers that are cutting hay. That's happening right now. You've got guys that plant cover crops that are crimping because they want to, get the cover crop down. So I guess if you have to do stuff like that and it's a must, maybe throttle it down a little bit and go super slow, and hopefully you could see something before you squash it or run over it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Those fawns, man, they'll lay flat and they hide and they don't know any better. They just know to lay still and don't move. And then that hen, if she's got those babies, she's going to run around and try to get you to give her attention and away from her little ones running around. But they're hard to see, man. They're little bitty dudes. We've always said, my dad and I have always said, if the baby turkeys get big as a quail and because they can fly like a quail at that point,
right?
Then they've got a good chance of making it. But that from hatching out to get where they can get that quail size, that's a really hard thing for turkeys because everything out there's got them on the menu.
Easy pickings.
Exactly. But that's so this time of year, like of course we beat mowing to death, but what are you doing? Like what should people be looking at from a food plot standpoint, getting summer preparation going?
Most of our stuff is done. I've noticed a really, really decrease in business lately, and not because of any reason other than most people are done planting. Mm-hmm. Here in the Midwest, we like to be done by Memorial Weekend. Okay. And our frost hits a little sooner. I don't know about down in the southern part of the United States, what's going on down there. You guys tend to start a lot earlier than us, but our cutoff up here is around Memorial Day weekend. So basically right now, I think people are just getting ready to enjoy summer. They feel like they've got everything done and now it's time to enjoy summer, or maintenance work on equipment, just whatever they can do to keep themselves busy. But for the most part, food plots are done around here.
Gotcha. And so here, to put that in perspective, we had one thing working big time against us, and you saw that while you were here, is how dry we've had it. Mm-hmm. We finally started getting some rain. I'm trying to think here. We've probably gotten, I don't know, in the last couple of weeks, we've probably gotten 4 to 6 inches of rain. So we're not caught up, but we're definitely way ahead of where we were. It did help me. Just here at my house, I did plant a little plot. I got like an acre or so right here. That's I call it my test world, where I just get to run some equipment and test some seeds out and stuff like that. And I planted some barricade in there down the wood line. I also planted some red zone, and I added some grain sorghum in there just because I wanted to kind of see what it does. I've never planted it back here before. I usually try sunflowers, and the deer just do not allow those to grow. I mean, it gets right when they first get up and get beautiful leaves on them, and you're like, oh man, we're gonna have some great sunflowers. And Beth gets real excited. The deer murder them in like 2 days. I have gone. Right. So I tried something different. I'm gonna try to just do a little cover, see what happens there. But I finally got enough rain. Like it's rained every day until yesterday for about a week, at least a tenth of an inch to, I think one day we got almost an inch. So it's got enough where now we can do some work in the woods. We can plant some food plots. We got enough moisture to make things grow. And for the next 4 or 5 days, we don't have any rain, but then it kind of starts at afternoon showers again. And that's where we get all of ours in the summer. So I think a lot of people here have not planted any summer plots or whatever. And because one thing that we can't do, we can't plant our quote fall plots until later in the year because they're going to burn. Right. It's going to get so hot. They just, like your clovers and stuff just can't handle the fall, your fall clovers anyway. They can't handle 95 degrees, 100 degree days, very much. So that's kind of where we're at. So I guess from that standpoint, there's probably still some guys out there that either they've punted the football by now because of the rain, and they're like you said, they're just ready to enjoy summer. But
Right.
I usually see everybody down here kind of changing gears after July 4th. It's almost like that's the after July 4th is when everybody's like, all right, I need to start thinking about deer season a little bit now. I don't know if do you guys handle.
Well, I think so we have two phases.
Mhm.
So anybody that's planting spring plots needs to be done by Memorial weekend. Anybody planting fall plots needs to be done by Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
So what I planted and what we're talking about now is your grains, is your corn, your sorghum, your milo, your soybeans. That's big in the Midwest.
Yep.
And all that's got to go in now. And I like it to be in by Memorial weekend. I'll tell you that you brought up the grain sorghum. That's one heck of a crop that gets overlooked. And I'm starting to see a lot of seed companies come out with their own versions of it. It's really good here. It's drought tolerant. It grows well. The deer tend to not eat it until it's ready.
Mm-hmm.
The problem that I've seen is if you don't plant a lot of it and they're not used to it, there's a learning curve there.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to hammer it, and you're going to wonder how come you're not seeing any deer. And then all of a sudden, when they figure out what it is, they come in, like gangbusters.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a learning curve for it.
Well, what I've seen a little bit down here is of course, it's just like anything else. When it first sprouts out and gets growing, that green tender growth. They eat a lot of stuff. They'll eat corn like that at
Mm-hmm.
certain stage. But then it grows so fast. Those taller grains like that grow out and they get more dense, so they don't eat them as much. But like you said, when especially sorghum, millet, milo, stuff like that, when it grows up and it heads out. It's really a great cover crop. Number one, it's great for
Mm-hmm.
bedding area and travel routes and stuff like that. But it also is great food source once that seed is ripe and it turns into just like corn.
Mm-hmm.
Once the kernels get better and better and better, they eat it more and more and more. But one thing, and I was going to ask you if you've ever heard of this. I've heard that grain sorghum is a natural insect repellent for like deer. They like to bed in it because it's like the plant itself has natural insect repelling tendencies, I guess. Have you ever heard that?
I have not heard that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so much good stuff out there that we don't even know about. I wish I could think like a deer. I'd be super rich, but yeah. I mean, I could see how it is, and it's shady too, and it's cool, and
yeah. And one of my good buddies, he had a high fence place certain years ago now in Alabama, and that's one thing they would plant in their food plots was strips of grain sorghum. And that's where I asked him that. I was like, why do y'all plant grain sorghum? And they say, well, they'll eat it later on, but two, it's good cover and they like to bed in it. And it's like you said, it's a good shady stuff. It keeps them cooler, but that's when they told me, they said, and it also repels insects. So like the flies and things, maybe ticks. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a scientist, and they may be totally wrong, and we're just spreading false information right now. I don't know. Somebody fact check us on Chat GPT, and we'll figure it out. But anyway, that's what I heard. So I was like, well, let's give it a try and let's just see. I don't know, because you guys probably like us. I mean, y'all got mosquitoes and ticks and all that fun stuff that bother deer, but the flies, the biting flies, like yellow flies, horse flies, the black flies that bite, you can literally watch deer in the summer. Just a horse fly will just wear a deer out, and it stresses them too. So, if you've got anything that can help with that, I guess that's looks to be an advantage.
Yeah, what I notice more is the ticks than anything. You see these trail cam pictures, these poor deer, and their ears and their face are just loaded with ticks. And it's like, good night.
And I've seen that too. And to be honest with you, here on our properties, they're not terrible. Like, I'm not saying there's no ticks, but it doesn't seem like, and I don't know why this is, but there's not a lot of ticks like some of the other states have. And I used to have a piece of property in North Florida that has some pretty good deer on it for North Florida. But we would literally get trail camera pictures. And I would feel so bad for like even the baby fawns. Like they would have ticks all over their ears just because they lay on the ground to hide and in the cover. And I'm just like, how can you survive with these stupid things?
Yeah, they go all around their eyes. And
I don't know.
Yeah,
I wish we could figure out something you could put in a feed or something to make the ticks like drop off of them, like keep off of them. I don't know. Maybe we're onto something there, Kerry. Let's do it.
I think we need to look at it because I don't know. I think if it's a problem in one place, it's a problem in a lot. Mm-hmm. The ticks are bad here.
There's no doubt. And it's crazy that, and I think we may have talked about this when you were down here, but just all the bad stuff with ticks right now, the alpha-gal stuff. And I mean, you got Rocky Mountain spotted fever in, some ticks. And they say, the Lone Star tick, that's where alpha-gal comes from what I read lately. Then I saw something the other day. Golly, I'm going to say it wrong. I know it, but it was something to do with the deer tick. And they said in what state, I forgot what it was, they tested these deer ticks, and like over half of the deer ticks carried Lyme disease now. Like, I guess the ticks are just getting more and more contagious. I don't know. I guess ticks pass things on to ticks. I don't even know how that works, but it's bad. It's real bad.
Well, it just seems like they're growing so much. I used to think as a kid that like the frost and everything, the worst, if we have a bad winter, we're not going to have any ticks. Mm-hmm. And we had a pretty cold winter last year. Mm-hmm. It hasn't slowed them down. It has not slowed them down.
And I mean, we hunt Kentucky, once or twice a year sometimes. And I haven't been in your part of the country per se specifically, but I know in that Western Kentucky part, it is unbelievable at the number of ticks. Like half the people you talk to up there have a tick-borne illness.
Yeah,
like it's that prevalent up there. And we went up and I sprayed down. I'm religious about spraying down. Shameless plug for the No Ticks product. That's actually the name of it, No Ticks. And we were turkey hunting up there, and I had a couple camera guys, and they're like, "Oh, we got this new clothes that repels ticks, so we don't worry about spraying." I'm like, "Cool, I'm going to wear that same clothing, and I want to spray on top of it." Mm-hmm. I think I found one tick crawling on my pants leg the whole time I was there, and we were turkey hunting, so you're sitting in some junk,
right?
Camera guys, they were like, "Oh my god."
They were covered, huh?
They had ticks like crawling all over there. They literally, we sat in one setup one afternoon, and one of my camera guys, he goes, "Holy crap." He said, "Dude, I have ticks all over my pants." And I guess he had just brushed into like a wad of seed ticks. Mm-hmm. And he sat there the whole time just with his knife, like scraping them off, making sure they wasn't on him. And I was like, "Y'all, this is dangerous." I mean, it really is. It's scary that here we are, big bad hunters out there and going face to face with, black bears and grizzly bears and rhinoceroses or whatever the crap people are hunting all this world, and a tick's going to take us out.
Yeah, but look what the tick does to us. I mean, if that little critter can take away our ability to eat what we love to hunt, mm-hmm. What's the point of hunting? I mean, I don't know if I would shoot as many does if I couldn't eat them, if I would get sick. I mean, I love to eat them. I'm not just killing them for fun and antlers.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, you take that away, and that little sucker can take that away from you. I don't like that.
I hope no anti-hunters watch this podcast, because now they're going to be like, "Oh, we got to put ticks all over the world." Dang it. Here we are. Yeah. We're solving problems and causing them at the same time. Do what we do best. Oh, man. Well, so let's fast forward a little bit to, all right, we know right now it's in June. It's early. Well, today's June the 2nd. So it's early June. We're going to go through, have us a great summer. We got our summer plots in, spring plots in, with those different, plants in there, whatever everybody out there likes to plant. We're going to get through 4th of July, man. We're going to celebrate our great country we live in, and we're going to shoot fireworks and eat hot dogs and maybe have a cold beverage. And then we're going to slip through July. It's going to be really hot. Nobody's going to do anything outside. And now we're sneaking up into August. It's going to be even hotter down here in August, but we have hopes that, September's coming. And now we're in that time frame of getting ready for fall, getting ready to plant those plots in the fall. Walk us through Carry 101 on what we need to do. And we're using the never mind. I'm an idiot. Anyway,
the G or the M, either one.
Exactly. We have the M now, Michael. I should remember that, right? So we're going to use our M series drill. Get that's what we're going to plant with. And let me preface even this a little bit. For the guys and gals that are listening that do food plots the old fashioned way, AKA my dad, that loves to go out there and turn dirt and harrow it up and see that nice, beautiful seed bed that's going to be dried out in a few hours from you harrowing it up and disking it and making it look all smooth and pretty. Tell us why we don't need to do that first.
Well, being at wildlife farming, it's hard for me to knock it because even though I prefer the no-till, there's a lot of people like your father that wants to turn dirt and disc. A lot of people do that, but to me, it's a soil moisture thing.
Yep.
I think all of us all over the place are lacking that now. It seems like a good rain is hard to catch anymore. So if you can retain any amount of that you can, great. The other thing is what it does for soil, for moisture retention. So you have something planted in there. Right now I have wheat planted in my stuff that I'm going to no-till in this fall. Mm-hmm. That's merely there. Obviously the squirrels are tearing that up right now, but it's mainly there just for shade because I want to keep all that moisture in the ground that I can, even all the way through July and August. And believe it or not, in the shade, you can keep it if you keep your soil shaded a little bit. Erosion is a big one. Mm-hmm. You don't realize it until you've had a piece of property for 20 years, like I did, that I disc certain areas. And now I have the Grand Canyon that runs through my back food plot where it used to be flat. Mm-hmm. And now a deer or a turkey can walk off in there and I don't see them. I've lost that much soil over the 20 years, 25 years, whatever, that I've lived here and planted this field. And you don't notice it year to year. You notice it 10 years and then another 10 years, how much soil you've actually lost. And probably one of the most important reasons that I like no-till is the time that it saves me. I mean, let's face it, we live in a world now where everybody is just running ragged. It's crazy. I don't have time to enjoy planting food plots anymore because I have so much to do. And I just look at the process and it just continues to be more work. Mm-hmm. But since I started using this pH drill, it's gotten fun again because I'm not racing against the clock. And what used to take me a week or a week and a half, I can get done in a weekend, or I can do part of it in the evening when I get home. I mean, what I can accomplish in an hour used to take me a weekend of doing it the old fashioned way. I'm not against the old fashioned way because there's nothing better than turning some dirt once in a while. But, when time's a factor and your soil health and your soil moisture, all that, to me, it just makes sense.
Well, and you hit the nail on the head. It's a time thing, but it's also, whether people realize it or not, over time using a no-till, you actually save money. Well, which time is money, but also you got fuel on your tractor. You got time swapping out implements. And now there is a time, like the other day when you were here, we planted a spot that ground was really hard and it needed to be broken, or that drill would have had a really tough time, especially with as large of seed as we were planting. Now, if we were planting something really small, we probably wouldn't need to break that up as much. And also with us planting peanuts, that's a below ground plant. Like it has above ground, flower and stems, but below ground is where the nuts are grown. And if you've got a really compact, tight seed bed, it's really hard for those things to thrive. So we had to loosen that up. That peanuts are an exception. Like this, it was just us experimenting. But if you're planting normal fall type food plots, or maybe even some of your summer plots, with your smaller seeds, with your brassicas and stuff like that, that's where you can, save moisture. Like you said, you got a shade crop on there. You can go in there, crimp that down, and you guys make great crimping products. Do like we do a lot of time, because we have a ton of weeds down here. I mean, we're just in humid climate where weeds thrive. So we go in, we'll spray our plots. We may mow them depending on how thick, and like we've got dog fennels down here that grow freaking tall as your tractor. So you got to get those things out of the way that you can't, you can run a drill over that, but they're going to make a mess. So like you said though, is that kind of the process that people, when you adapt to the no-till style, is spraying, mowing, planting? That's kind of your process.
Yeah. I mean, we in the Midwest, we eliminate the mowing because even though weeds are not good, having the dead weeds as help for shade helps. It's also I don't know if this is true or not, but I look at it this way. If you have a weed up and your soybeans are growing up through the weeds, Is it going to deter the deer from leaning down and eating every seed or every sprout? I don't know, but it just tends to give that crop a little bit of cover and help it get up a little taller before they start eating it. But yes, I mean the no-till process is literally spray it and drill, or you can drill and spray. I mean, it's just however you want to do it.
Right. And you could do that, like I said, you could do it drill first and spray. I mean, either way. I mean, it's not rocket science, especially if I'm doing it. It's not rocket science.
Right. It's not difficult.
Exactly. And the thing with it, the results we've seen from going into the no-till process and drilling things in, especially years that we do get adequate rain, especially in the fall, man, the plots they thrive so much better when you're doing that over. And I'm not knocking the broadcast and harrow in and disc in. I mean, I grew up doing that and I still have to do that in some occasions, but, again, the efficiency side of it. And then it's almost like you grow a better crop that way. Like you grow a better plant because of the way the drill works. Right.
Right. Well, you're actually putting that seed in the ground, so you're not relying on broadcasting and covering it. How many seeds don't adequately get covered in a broadcast? That's why you have to over broadcast your seeds. I think anywhere from 10 to 20% more seed versus broadcasting versus drilling or no-tilling. So, I mean, that right there just tells you, when I load that drill up and calibrate and go plant, you're going to see some seeds on the ground. You're always going to see some, but I know when I open that hopper and it's empty, that the majority, the high percentage, 90 plus, every seed is in the ground. It's not laid out where I don't want it.
And how many times while we've been planning together have we had to say, all right, stop, let's see, make sure everything's going out right. And you have to dig down and go, oh yeah, there's the seeds. They're going right there. It's just us being overly cautious. But like you said, when you're riding through there and the 90% of the time you don't see a seed anywhere. And then you open that hopper up and you go, I guess they are on the ground. The only time you really see them is at the ends where you're lifting the drill up and turning it around. That's pretty much all you see.
And there's a lot of guys that, I mean, if you've been broadcasting for years and you go to this new system, I mean, you got a new toy, it's a whole new way of doing things. You're going to be skeptical. I mean, it's just our phones ring here nonstop with people calling with questions. And it's, I got to make sure they understand, yes, everything you're doing is you're doing it right. It's hard to change gears, especially when you get up at our age. It's hard to change what you're used to doing. They have no results because they haven't done it. But it's definitely the way to go.
And one thing I did want to hit on, you mentioned a while ago, was broadcasting. You're using more seed because you're losing seed, right? I mean, you're leaving it on top of the ground, or got contact's not right and it's not growing like it's supposed to. The first year we worked with you guys and we got the G series drill, I remember getting the same amount of seed from Antler King as we get every year. Put our order in, and Robbie ships it down to us. We're like, okay, cool, we got all our seed. We planted our plots, and I looked over there and I'm like, did we miss some spots? Because we had probably twice as much seed almost as what we needed. And
well, that first year that I came down there, we actually calibrated the drill, and I did the calibrations with Robbie from, at Antler King there. And I went off of their recommended pounds per acre, on the bag. Yeah. And that recommended pounds per acre is if you're going to broadcast. Correct. So by drilling, you already overseeded. And I remember that. Like it was yesterday when you looked over there in that little shed and you're like, what are we going to do with all that?
Yes, so I ended up planting food plots again in February. If you're wondering what happened to that seed, I just went and did them all again. That was great for turkey season for some reason. They planting those food plots in February, it worked out really good for late March and early April. Just hint, food plots for turkeys tip, guys. That worked out great. But again, going back to the money saving of you using less seed, less fuel, less tractor time, and of course, not that we're spraying chickens, but that my lower back thanks me the less I'm on that tractor a lot of days. We did get that new fancy seat on there, courtesy of Rick, on that Kubota, man. Like things riding in the Cadillac now. But anyway, that it all goes back into, yes, it's more of an investment on the front end to get the equipment. But in the long run, you're saving so much time and you're saving money, whether you realize it or not, on these variables. You're going to have a better product at the end. You're going to have a better plot to hunt. You're going to have better crops growing. And that's what you want. You want your herd to thrive. You want to have, even if you're just a meat hunter, you still see more deer that way, the better plots.
Right. You got to have rain too. That's the key thing. There's been a lot of years here that I've had some food plot failures, and it's nothing more than Mother Nature. I mean, I've done everything right, pH, fertilizer. I mean, everything is good. And I just didn't get a good stand. And then what stand I had, we didn't have enough rain for it to outgrow the browse. So, what are you left with? You're left with poor looking plots. At the end of the day, it's part of it.
Well, and that's like when you came down last year, we planted plots and we got just enough rain after that to get them to grow, which is the worst thing that can happen is you have enough moisture, get enough rain to get those plots out of the ground. And then it didn't rain for another 30 days. So between the browse pressure, the deer just went in and started hammering all that little bit of green growth, and it didn't have the moisture to continue to grow behind that and keep up. They just went south pretty quick, and we ended up getting enough rain down the road that some of those seeds were able to continue to thrive a little bit. And the deer, if it's a sunflower is a good example, because if a sunflower grows up like a soybean and it makes a couple of leaves and a deer smokes that plant, no more leaves, the plant's done. That it doesn't have a chance. But if you get the crops like your cereal grains and things like that and clovers, you can get those established. Deer can graze that down to almost dirt and it'll still survive and still can come back. But we just ran into that situation of worst case scenario, and that's welcome to South Georgia food plots. I tell everybody, if you want it to stop raining, just let me plant a food plot. It's done. And
you'll see that a lot more, in my opinion, broadcasting than you will with the drill. When you get that sprout and die, like you get enough moisture to sprout the plant, that the roots are as small as the plant. So when that dries up and the roots are way up high, that first layer of soil is going to be the first one to dry up and get hot and burn up. And anytime you get that little bit of rain and they sprout and then they get no moisture, they're dead. But those seeds that lay in the ground a little bit longer and a little bit deeper might take them a little, they might not be poking out of the ground yet, but they're growing roots, and they're down in there a little ways. And then by the time they break out, they've got more of an established root. I think they have a better chance of making it.
I agree. I wholeheartedly, man, you're nailing the head with that. And I don't know. We keep going on about moisture, but moisture is the number one rule of growing anything. But you look at your yard. If it doesn't rain, you don't have to cut your grass. If it rains every day, you have to cut your grass every week. Well, I mean, we do. That's our typical summertime down here. But what do you think, going kind of back into the planning phase of this thing? What do you think the biggest mistake people make is, other than moisture?
In regards to what? In like a no-till drill or planting in general?
Just in general. Just like, let's keep it food plot 101. Like,
I think people get in too big of a hurry.
Okay.
I think haste makes waste, whether you're no-tilling or whether you're broadcasting. If you're in a broadcast scenario, sometimes you might have, I got to speak for up here. I can't speak for you. We've got a lot of clay. So if you hit a field up here with a disc, it's going to leave it clotty. Especially if there's moisture in the ground, you're going to really have some big clots, and then those dry up and get hard as a rock. Well, if you broadcast into that, there's a lot of big crevices throughout the field. Most people are broadcasting small seeds. Those small seeds fall in there, and then when we get a rain and that stuff flattens and mellows out, now you've just buried them small seeds too deep. That's just a point of getting in a hurry. Everybody's like, well, I have to do this on Saturday. I have to plant Saturday. Well, sometimes Saturday, the conditions aren't good. So you might be wasting your time, your money, and your day trying to get out there and rush it in. So I think people need to slow down. I think they need to, instead of plan it, which I know you have to plan your food plots, but you need to be a little bit more open to really hit the weekends that are good. And the weekends that are poor, I wouldn't waste my time doing it. I don't think you're going to gain much in 1 or 2 weeks if you're within that planting season time. Slow down. I think that's my number one thing.
And that makes total sense. I mean, I know guys too. Hey, we're going to go plant food plots this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, man, it's not supposed to rain for like the next 2 weeks. Yeah, but this is the only time I can do it.
The only time I got,
and I get that, and I respect that, because we're all kind of that same boat. Like we can just, it's Wednesday morning, I'm just going to go plant food plots today. I got work to do.
Right.
But with that being said, you can also say, well, man, let's look at like 3 or 4 different options of when we can plant and just see if the rain coincides. Because I'm a big one too, and Kevin and I will talk all the time. Like, well, man, when you want to plant food plots? Like, well, as soon as we get enough rain, or soon. The best food plots I've ever had, I literally planted in the rain. I mean, because you got the moisture going in with the seed, and then of course you got to keep getting rain along. But again, going back to guys doing it when they can do it, I've heard a buddy of mine this year, and he's got a great piece of property and tons of food plots. This was back when we were really, really dry, kind of midway through that, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I went over there and planted soybeans." I was like, "Why?" Well, I had them sitting over there. I figured I'd just go ahead and plant them, and I was like, "Well, dude, when you do that, your turkeys go in there and they hammer them because they're not growing, and they scratch them all up, and he's got hogs is way worse than we do, which is terrible. But you got all these environmental factors that go in, and you're in the middle of a drought on top of that. Well, that's the only time I had time to plant them. So I'm with you, man. I mean, if you can have some dates or look at options, not everybody's lucky enough to live right where they hunt and get to.
Right.
Go, like you said, go outside after work, and I'm just going to go knock out a few food plots this afternoon.
Right.
That would be awesome if everybody could do that, because you stay on top of it. But
sometimes I forget that. I am very fortunate that I literally live where I hunt, and that makes a big difference. And I don't have to travel. You'll have a 3-hour travel to your farm to hunt. All this makes sense. But the other thing too is you have a big window to plant. Mm-hmm. You have a really big window, like a month or more than a month. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just kind of leave all my weekends just kind of sitting around waiting to see what I can get done. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm lucky. I got a good supporting wife when it comes to that. Sorry, we can't go out today. I might plant.
Well, it's your job too. You got to do product research and development, and make sure everything looks good. You got to have
that don't work anymore.
Oh, that doesn't apply anymore. Dang it! I try that one too. It doesn't work all the time either. Now I want to go to the beach. Dang it! Okay, well, that's weekends out,
But the other thing too is when you buy a piece of equipment, especially the no-till drill. I mean, there's a lot of support out there, and I'm available for anybody to support them. But people don't want to take the time to learn their equipment. Mm-hmm. They just want to set it and go. They don't want to take the time to calibrate. They don't want to take the time to check the depth. I mean, and it all goes back to everything everybody's in too big of a hurry. Mm-hmm. Too big of a hurry.
Well, and speaking of that, when you do have a no-till drill, especially, and like with us having these different Antler King mixes, or even if you're just somebody like, hey, I'm going to plant winter wheat, or I'm going to plant sunflowers or millet or whatever you want to plant, make notes when you do calibrate that drill to say, okay, sunflowers, okay, my slots, everything go. This is what I need to set it on. So you have that reference to go back to. I don't care. Tape it inside the lid of your drill, so it's right there when you get to look at it all the time. And you guys do have a guide on the website that's pretty. I mean, for what you guys have tested, it's not going to be 100% for everything, but it gets you really, really close in the ballpark.
Right. You can find something on there that's close to get the proper settings to start.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Do you have all those for the M series drill too?
We have not. We have not got those. So you got to understand too, that takes a while. So, like for me to do what I did with the G series drill and get all the seed companies to send me seeds. I mean, everybody was very, very open and wanted to do that, but that all takes time. You got Antler King, you got Whitetail Institute, you got Domain. I mean, there's Green Cover. There's so many seed companies out there. There's so many choices out there. For people, basically every time you plant, you need to calibrate and save what you planted. And that's kind of what we did here. And then when we ran into a stalemate, then we reached out to these seed companies, and they sent us whatever we needed to make the calibrations for them so we could add it to it. But it takes time. And this M series, it's gonna take some time before we get it out there.
Yeah, we'll get it
But
figured out.
hey, you can always call me. I'll help you through it.
Well, and another thing too, people don't think about this. Just with a no till, you've got to set those gate settings and slots to the largest seed.
Mm-hmm.
You like, oh, this mix has got, because, and I'm not knocking any of the seed companies out there, but there's a lot of seed that you can buy, these mixes that have like winter peas and clover in the same mix. And those things are astronomically different in size, maybe not to your eye, but to that seed drill, they've got to be done totally different as far as just getting the seed out. Cause last thing you do, if you're too closed off, you get to the end of your row or end of your patch or whatever you're doing. And you look in there and, oh, I've got 50 pounds of winter peas in here and all my clover's gone. So
it'll damage it. I think it would damage your seed, but yeah, you definitely have to take the time to set it right. Seed size and pounds per acre. Those two things and the depth you want to plant.
Right.
Those three things. And you've already got it half mastered. And
that's another thing about the drills that's great is they're really easy to adjust the depth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. On the G series, it literally there's pins you take out and there's marks on there that tells you the depth. Now on the M series, which it's a little bit lighter weight drill, that's the whole point of it. It's a wider drill that covers more area at a lighter poundage. So you had to lose some of the functionality due to weight. Correct.
That and it's an entry level drill. So that drill was created to compete with another level of drills than the G series was competing with. So they were not meant to compete against each other. I mean, there's no comparison between the G series and the M series. The M series is a great drill. But if you want precision, if you want easy depth settings, if you want to be able to plant anything from corn to clover with precision, the G series is the way to go. If you're a guy that just wants to plant a food plot and he's not worried about being over or under on 15 pounds of seed, because it could swing either way. Let's be realistic. You could have a 10 to 20 pound swing depending on the blend that you're trying to plant. And the seed depth, the M series is going to get you that level of food plot that you want. Mm-hmm. But if you want that precision, if you have super high expectations for a piece of equipment, I'll point you to the G series all day long. All day long.
And again, it's all budgetary, depending on size, and it also depends on what size tractor you have and what it can handle. And that's why we went with what we went with the M series, because we've got smaller 40, roughly 40 horse ballpark between our couple tractors that we run over there in our lease, and then we do have one what's Rick's 78 or 84 Kubota. But of course that can handle a bigger drill. But with us having interchangeable tractors, we went with the lighter, wider planting area, like you said, 60 inches. So we can, again, here we are telling on ourselves, get done faster.
Right.
But
but you also have the sandier soil too. Correct. So your soil, you'll get better usage out of an M series drill in that sand. Because a lot of situations where you might have to till in the Midwest to loosen your soil, you kind of are already there with your sandy soil. So it made sense for you to go to the M. One day when you have a bigger tractor, I'd like to see you get back into a G, just because I think that, getting away from that tilling application, if you need to, I think we can get you there.
Well, and it's funny you hit on the sand. So people listen to this, depending on what type of soil you have. Like we do have in Georgia, it's a crazy mixture. You have red clay, like where my family farm is, and then where we're at over on our lease area is a lot more sand. I mean, there's still some clay in the mix, but it's a lot more sand. And if anybody's ever been to the beach on a hot, sunny day, sand is dry as a bone. Like it is, and it's almost impossible to plant in that loose of soil. Now the M series we've been more successful with it than the G. The G, like you said, just because of the weight, it wants to bury a lot more. And there's some spots where literally we just couldn't plant with it. And it's not the drill's fault. It's just sand. Like it's soil problem. And we can't win that battle because,
But out of all the plots that you have, there was only a few areas that I would call unplannable.
Correct.
Like unplannable, you're not pulling a G through it. You're not pulling an M through it. You're going to struggle to get anything in that situation.
Yep.
But you guys know where that is, you know?
Yeah.
So for the most part, I don't think there's anything that would have handled those beachy sand areas that you have.
Not at all. Unless we get a bunch of rain. That was my point. Yeah. Now you go walk on the beach right after a heavy downpour. Guess what? That sand's wet. It's compacted. It doesn't slide up from under your feet. If we get a bunch of rain on those sandier plots, now we do have some spots that quote looks like beach sand, but it's not quite like 100% beach sand. It's pretty close though. But if we get enough rain, yeah, you can run those drills out there with no problem if you got enough moisture on that dirt.
So you could probably plant. You can probably plant in your country after just a downpour of rain.
Yeah, I've done it before. When we've had a ton of moisture in there, and we went and planted with the G series, I could run over some of those spots with that drill. Then the only thing that bites me on that sometimes is with that sand being more loose, that type soil, the weeds would literally pull up like that. You can normally run over. They would pull the root system up out of the ground and go on the drill, and I'd have to lift up and put it back. Pull forward a foot and put it back down.
Yep.
And that was on the larger weeds that were in there, like those dog fennels and stuff like that. The smaller stuff, it wasn't a problem. So it's all an environmental thing. Like, and that's one of them. Like I was talking about mowing. If we went in and had mowed that, and then went right behind it and planted before all that stuff had to die off or whatever, we probably would have been fine with that. It's just a learning curve on our part with what we can do, what spots. But going to our primary plots, the ones that we know are good money holes every year, no problem whatsoever.
Right.
No problem. So food plotting is not just, hey, let's go throw something in the ground and see what happens. Like it is, granted, we're not trying to harvest a crop off of this, but we do want to get the most bang for our buck, spending the money on seeds, spending money on fertilizer, doing these things. And what a lot of people don't realize too, getting a little bit off topic of the planting side, is that if you don't put a containment cage in your food plots, you'll swear they're not growing, right?
I've done it many times. Done it. Blamed the drill. Got mad. Oh my gosh, this thing! Nothing's coming up.
Yep. It's these things with four legs that like to eat a lot, and people don't realize. Just for example, say a 1 acre food plot, and you've done it perfect. Like you've got the pH perfect, man. You've got the prettiest seed, man. It rained every day for a month. You just got lush growing food plot in this thing. How long would it take about 8 does on a 1 acre food plot to make it go away? Not long.
So this just happened last night. I'm sitting at the house. My wife and daughter say, "Hey, your friends are back." And I look out the back of the house, and I've got just a flock of turkeys out there.
Okay.
So I went out there and checked to see what they're doing. I planted corn with the G series, and my corn looks fantastic. Them things are walking down the corn rows, and they're plucking out the corn that's about 2 inches tall. They're plucking it out, clipping the bulb off the bottom, whether it's the roots, whether it's the leftover kernel of the seed, and they're leaving it lay right on the ground. There was like 14 of them out there last night, and they're walking. I think they each take a row, and they just walk down it. I'll be lucky to have a corn stalk come fall.
Wow.
So it's not just the deer that are crippling, it's everything. And at the end of the day, that's why we do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
have them there, right?
We do it for the game. And I guess I don't want them to eat it now, but they're doing what I want them to do. They're eating it. So
I'd just rather them do it in turkey season. Well, and my dad said this all the time, and now he reverses it back on me a lot, but he loves to plant iron clay peas in the summertime. He loves it. And so he'll go plant his peas we'll drill them in, or he'll broadcast them, whatever he does. And he plants sunflowers a lot too in some of our field because he likes to shoot doves on them. But he'll plant those sunflowers, and now he runs a hot wire around the sunflower field every time. That deters deer for a while till they learn to jump. But he'll go out there and he'll plant these iron clay peas, and he'll plant an acre here, acre there, whatever. And then he'll call me. He's like, "Oh, my peas are coming up good." He'll send me pictures of them. They're looking real good. And then about 2 days later, he's like, "I'm not gonna have any peas left in another 3 days." I say, "Yeah,
They found it.
they're eating all my peas." I said, "Well, what'd you plant them for?" "Well, I planted them to eat them, but not right now. I want them to at least let it get grown up where they could have some, down the road." But again, like you said, that's what we do it for. We complain about it, but at the end of the day, you're still holding deer on there, holding turkeys
Right.
on there. You're providing some kind of nourishment for them to make them thrive a little bit better and get them closer to the season. So,
Well, when they're hammering your food plots, it's because they have nothing else.
yeah.
We're kind of in that there's no nuts, there's no acorns, there's really nothing for them right now. Everything's just starting to grow. There's a lot for them, but I mean, when you put out something new and young and tender, they're going to just flock right to it. So,
well, if you got up every day and you ate strawberry Pop-Tarts, and then one day somebody got out a pack of s'mores Pop-Tarts and put them on the counter. If Kevin's with you, you're not going to have a chance to eat either one of them. He's going to eat all of them. But you're going to be like, you know what? I'm going to try this other one out just because I'm tired of this daggum strawberry Pop-Tarts every day. And that's the same thing with deer and turkeys and everything. They have the same diets throughout the year. And Robbie and I were talking about this when we did a podcast too. And I know you'll agree with us. When the acorns start falling, they'll walk through everything in the world to eat acorns.
Done. Yep. You're done. That's how you know. That's how you know when they're dropping at home, because your food plots will be filled up every night. And then when all of a sudden they're not filled up, you might have a couple of stragglers in there. Acorns are dropping. They're gone.
And that's like even us, like, down here, we can hunt over bait and we can feed corn and feed whatever you want to put out there. And man, they will be hammering, and then nothing. Like you can't, like your corn just piles up if you got on a spin feeder or whatever. And you're like, well, I know what's happening right now. I need to change where I'm hunting. I need to go hunting in the woods and around some of these acorn trees. And it's insane, especially like on my family farm. And maybe when you come down this fall, we'll spend a day or two over there, but it's a totally different environment than our lease that you've been to. But we've got these hardwood bottoms, and it mostly is red oaks and water oaks. And I mean, when they're falling, like you can literally, we've got some stands like the acorns will fall on the roof of the stand. It's scary to death, but we've seen deer, like an acorn fall and a deer's out there feeding around and they will hear it fall and they'll walk over there to where it fell. And it's
no kidding.
It's like there's one over there, I know. And then, I mean, of course, there's more than just those ones, but it's almost like they react to that sound to know where to go eat acorns at. So, and especially when we used to hunt some property that had a lot of white oaks on it. Now, them things sound like bowling balls, falling out of the tree. But deer love those things. But again, like we said, when those acorns start falling, you can plant the prettiest food plots in the world. Just get ready to hunt them later in the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So on a year that's good, that I know we're going to have a good acorn crop, I get a little upset because they're not going to be hitting the food plots, but eventually they will.
That's right.
On the years that we don't have a good acorn crop or you can't see them in the trees, I know my food plots aren't going to survive to wintertime when they need it the most. So you're right. It's a double-edged sword. And you're always behind the eight ball, it seems like.
Deer doing deer stuff. I don't know. It's
right.
Weird how that happens. And just when we think we got it figured out, we don't.
Right. Not even close.
Well, right quick, and we'll wrap this thing up here in just a few minutes. I know we got better things to do than sit here and talk to me on a podcast. But top 3 tips that you could give out there to someone who's never planted a food plot before, that wants to get into planting, learning how to do it. What's like 3 things out of the gate? We've established that you need moisture and to go slow. We've already got those. So what else could you give people just to say, all right, if you just want to get into it, learn how to do a food plot? Like I've had guys ask me all the time, hey man, I've only got 10 acres to hunt. I got one little clearing in the woods. How do I make a food plot? So what would you be like top 3 things roughly to help people out?
I think you need to have a plan. You need to have an idea of what you want to plant, and you need to be realistic on your budget. You need to understand, what your goals are and what it's going to take you to get to those goals. You can easily make a food plot with a rake, a leaf blower, and a broadcast,
little hand spreader.
Yeah, little hand seeder. It's just what your goals are, and at the end of the day, it's all about work. So you got to put the work in. So figure out what you want, figure out what you want to plant. Obviously, small seeds are going to take less equipment to do. The larger seeds, like your clay peas, corn, soybeans, sunflowers, those are seeds that are going to take a little bit more equipment to get the soil right. But your smaller seeds, your clover, your brassicas, you can do all that relatively inexpensive and easy. The other thing too is, do you want something that you want to access with your ATV, a UTV, or a small tractor? If you don't have a small tractor or a large tractor, you have just a four-wheeler, there are good implements out there for those. And we try to rep the best products that we can. We don't want to get caught up in the gimmick stuff. So we have a full line of ATV stuff and UTV stuff as well. So it's just a matter of really taking some time and figure out what you want to do. If you don't have a plan, what do they say? Planning, the biggest failure is failing to plan or planning to fail.
That's right. Yep. Planning.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Have an idea of what you want to do. Research what you want to do. Research where you're at in the country and what grows good, what's going to attract deer good, because everywhere is different. Just because we're in the food plot equipment business, it doesn't mean that I'm an expert in South Georgia, because you put me down there in the sand and I have no clue. I had never seen a peanut in all my life, So, and it's the same for up north. I mean, every geographic is going to be different. So research your area and see what it is. Just always remember, the small seeds seem to be the easiest to plant because they don't really need to be at depth. I mean, they can lay on top of the ground and sprout. A wheat seed, you can throw it in your driveway and it's gonna sprout. Right. But you also need some sunshine. So that would be my biggest advice, is just research, figure out what you want to plant, and understand that you have choices and options. There's a lot of options out there. Don't fall for something. Don't buy the first thing you see. Shop around and compare.
I agree. Go to wildlifefarming.com. That's your first shopping point.
We've got everything to look at for sure.
Well, and you hit the nail on the head, because most people, I would say within reason, most people have an ATV or UTV of some kind, whatever price point they can afford and get in there. And you guys have y'all do a great job of having a level of products that were designed for those people, where it's like a small set of discs. You guys even have a no-till that goes behind
correct
UTV now. So, and yeah, of course, that's going to be a little higher price point. But at the end of the day, you don't have to have a full-on tractor setup to have a no-till drill now. So there's a lot of things out there, from wildlife farming that can take, and I'm not disrespecting anybody, but the weekend warrior that doesn't have a lot of time or a lot of money, and you've only got Saturday to do your food plots or prepare your woods, you've got the tools to be successful for somebody at any level, basically.
Well, we lean on the drill a lot. Let's face it. I mean, we use the drill a lot, but in the Midwest, we don't have food plots. We have food fields. Yeah. I mean, we literally have 5-acre plots, and we want to get over that in a timely manner. But at the end of the day, I personally don't care what a guy has, whether he has a four-wheeler, a side-by-side, a small tractor, or a 150-horse tractor. We have the equipment to get him in that position. I'm not a big fan of disking, but if a guy wants to disc, heck yeah, because I get it. Everybody has their reasons for what they do. It's all going back to the plan. What my plan is for my property might not be somebody else's plan, but at the end of the day, we all need equipment to get it done better and faster. I think that's what separates us from everybody out there.
Well, there you go, buddy. They hit the nail on the head, having something for everybody. And that's why wildlife farming was started. Simple as that. To have these, wildlife products out there so people can have nice equipment, performing equipment. That's going to be the best thing. It's not just having a nice, expensive whatever, or a nice whatever price point you're at. You guys, and you even down here, you brought me a piece of equipment the other day, the spreader to go behind my UTV, and you said, well, we've got another one, but this one works better, and that's why we want you to use that one. Like you have options, but you also can direct people in the right path, to say, hey, this is what you're trying to do. And you and Robbie at Antler King kind of have that role as probably the most knowledgeable guys that we know on the resource side. you can ask Robbie about anything Antler King and planting food plots, and he can ask you about anything with equipment. And having you two guys on speed dial is like the perfect combination of anybody can say, hey, I'm going to call Kerry, I'm going to call Robbie. And man, I'm going to have some beautiful food plots at the end of the day if I listen to these guys.
Right. But at the end of the day, you got to support your stuff. We have a very, very large dealer network. And if your local dealer can't help you, I will. We are not that kind of company that on a Saturday, you're not going to get us. You call my phone on a Saturday, I'm gonna talk to you, make sure everything's going right.
And that's customer service goes a long way, especially in the world we live in right now.
Oh yeah,
all the way from buying a cup of coffee to buying a tractor, you got to have good customer service. So, well, buddy, thank you for hopping on here with me. I appreciate it. As always, you're a wealth of knowledge, and hopefully everybody listening got something out of this to make them a little bit better out there in the woods and have more fun.
Well, I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to November because I'm coming to South Georgia. I'm coming.
I'm going to get a couple rattlesnakes and bag them up for you. Have them on standby. So, yeah, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all for listening. Y'all go check out wildlifefarming.com. Again, they've got just an insane amount of great products on there. They do a great job customer service, answering questions. Trust me, we've been working with these guys for many years now. Never let us down. The products perform. They'll steer you in the right direction. Can't speak highly enough about everybody at Wildlife Farming. And this guy, Kerry, he's all right too. Don't worry about him.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
There you go, buddy. All right, man. Well, we'll talk soon.
Take care.